Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today it's I think this might be our third annual Players We Love episode here, where we're just going to go over, we have 5 players each that we love in 2019. It can be, I have no idea where you're going, Jeff, with this list. You have no idea where I'm going. We had no parameters for it. It's just players we love. It could be the first ranked player in the league. It can be the 80th ranked. It doesn't really make a difference. It's just, for some reason or other, we like these guys this year, and they're going to make our list here in just a second. Before we do that, make sure you guys go check us out on Twitter at the FF Prophet or Instagram at Fantasy Football Prophet. The website's fantasyfootballprophet.com, and you can always send us any kind of questions on Twitter, Instagram to fantasyfootballprophet@gmail.com. We'll read them on the air here as we go forward, as we're starting to gear up for fantasy season. And it kind of feels like we started, like fantasy season is really here as of yesterday, starting the Scott Fish Bowl. So that was, I'm pumped, Jeff. I don't know about you. It's a slow draft, 1,200 teams, and some interesting strategies. Did you pick anybody in your team or as a player you love, or did you not even get in one of these guys?
Yeah, I did. I did got one so far. Yeah,
good. Yeah, I have one as well. I have one, and yeah, I missed out on a couple. Kind of disappointed. It's that's always a interesting league, different settings, but might talk about that as we go, because I want to be up on the clock here in a minute. I'm going to have to probably make my selection, so I might talk it on the air once we go. But how about we'll just start out with your number 5 player you love for 2019.
Number 5. This is a recent development as I look more and more into him. First of all, I have to say the kind of like the parameters of what I did. Craig said it, but it doesn't necessarily think that I think that they're gonna break out or do anything. For some reason, I just really, really like the player, and I'm rooting for them, and I think that they will do well this season. Or, I'm kind of rooting for him to break out. So with that caveat, number 5, I don't think anyone's going to have any problem with this one. Cooper Kupp has completely grown on me. And I like him even more because of his injury, he's going at a pretty reasonable place right now. And if you looked at what he was able to put together last year with Jared Goff finally kind of coming together a little bit more as a quarterback and that dynamic offense, he was able to put together a 7-game stretch, if you will, even though he had a few injuries, to miss a few games. And obviously he destroyed his ACL, which took him out the rest of the game. But he had 6 touchdowns, 566 yards, and that was in the slot as well. So he had 40 receptions in that amount of time. He was on his way to becoming, Goff's favorite target. And I think that him in the slot is just a recipe for success, because I think that he is able to get open and he is able to kind of get the amount of receptions that you really need, especially in, say, PPR. So I really like the guy. And you hear nothing but good things about him. You hear that he works really hard. You hear that his injury rehab is going tremendously well. And I think you will see, I think they realize how important he is, especially in that slot position, to help out with, Cooks and the other side, who I always forget his name. Obviously, he was very, very good.
Woods.
Yeah, Woods, which I always forget about. But he did fantastic last year, too. So I don't see any reason why Goff and that offense shouldn't be good again throwing the ball, especially, and I say it, many of times, but especially if you are one of the people who don't think Gurley is going to be used as heavily. You might think that they will throw it a little more, and that can only benefit him. So Cooper Kupp, I like him for a lot of different reasons, so I wanted to talk about him a little bit.
I don't, dislike Cooper Kupp anymore, like maybe I used to. But he's just in that category for me. Where actually I was considering, I was looking at my rankings the other day, and he might find his way going down. No reason other than I don't know. I don't think I'm worried about the injury, but maybe slightly to start the year. He should be fine, it looks like, but I don't know. I have a part of it, I guess, is 3 wide receivers. Someone has to not get the catches, I would think, maybe. I don't know who that's going to be. I don't know. I just have a hard time with him for some reason. It's not even like I don't dislike the guy. I have him ranked pretty decently. But when I'm in drafts, I don't find myself picking him. And that's where I can tell I don't love it.
Yeah. And I'll be honest. When I was prepping for the Scott Fishbowl, his name kept coming up and he was still on the board. And because he was injured. And so I kept looking into him and I was like, okay, is his knee going to be okay? Like, I really wanted to dive into this before.
Yeah.
Because he's a quality player. And the more and more I read about him, the more and more I looked into it, the more I was like, wow, this guy was really on pace to do something special last year. And especially even, I don't care where you play. If you play a full season and you're going to get double-digit touchdowns, which it looks like he would have pretty easily, I want you on my team.
Oh, I'm up in the fishbowl.
Oh, yeah? Who?
Alshon just went. I was going to pick Alshon just to be safe and get a wide receiver because I picked Tyreek. And now he's gone. Sterling Shepard went. So I need a wide receiver. At least I told myself I was just going to get best available here. But now I'm looking at, do I need to get that wide receiver? Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, Cortland Sutton, Will Fuller are out there. You just pick Cortland Sutton and call it good, huh? Takes a chance there.
Yeah, I like Cortland.
Good. Yeah, that's screw it. If you guys look up my team at some point, you'll realize I'm going big or going home this year. I'm going all out for the risky plays, but I'll pick Cortland Sutton. But all right, I'll go to my number 5. And this is a very recent development. This could probably have been on the players we haven't talked about list in a way, because I haven't really. My love for this guy has not been known to the podcast, I would say.
Okay.
And no one, even in my rankings just changed like today. I posted the new ones on Instagram today at quarterback. New quarterback rankings went out today. And I've increased this guy quite a bit.
Oh, great.
What?
It's not the rookie, is it?
His name's Kyler Murray.
I knew it. Well, I don't. Okay. Go ahead.
I'm not even sure why, Jeff.
Right. If you love him, you love him. I'm not going to give you crap.
I've liked Kyler Murray's before the draft. There's something about this guy that I'm just interested in this season and how that's going to play out. I don't know how it's going to play out. But it's the combination of Kyler Murray, who is just a player we really haven't seen that often, of that size. It's just not something. He's not pick number 1. He shouldn't normally be pick number 1. And then to put put Kingsbury in there at coach, he didn't really have a great college career as a head coach, but his offenses were always great. His offenses were just always really good. His teams necessarily weren't that great. I don't really care how good the Cardinals are, but their offense could just be really good. And there's just something that's so intriguing for me right now. And I want a part of that. This is where Kyler Murray becomes the guy I break my don't draft a backup quarterback rule for. And Kyler Murray's the reason I'm going to break that rule this year at times. And he is now, I moved him up to 14th in my ranks today. He's all the way up to 14th. That means he's ahead of like Tom Brady. Now he's ahead. People went nuts on that one. Some of them like, how do you rank a rookie who's never played ahead of Tom Brady? Well, I did it because I can. It's fantasy football. Come on. It's not that big of a deal, but he's 14th. He's right ahead of Dak Prescott, Tom Brady, Jameis Winston for me, and Mitch Trubisky. I don't know. I'm just interested. There's something about this guy that's intriguing. There's nothing to go on. We haven't seen him. We have nothing at all. We haven't seen him in preseason. We haven't seen him in anything. I just think it's intriguing, and there's something about it that I want to have him on my team in case he hits. But you also don't have to go crazy for him. Probably. You shouldn't have to. And if you do, don't do it. Don't reach. But if you're going to get a backup quarterback, get Kyler Murray. Get him a couple rounds earlier than you might normally do it. So I'm going Kyler Murray.
The thing I worry about with Kyler Murray, and I get the excitement, right? But I feel like we get this every year, especially with a quarterback or say a tight end or something, which it usually takes them a little bit, at least a season or something. And we saw it with Baker Mayfield, the same thing. Like everyone was super psyched. Obviously, he wasn't starting. But Kyler Murray, and believe me, I also get the idea that, man, I want a piece of this new offense. Hopefully that he takes it from, the college game, spreads everything out. Kyler Murray already ran it in college. He was very, very successful. What does that look like? Can it translate to the professional level? I mean, I don't know yet, and I understand where you're coming. But Kyler Murray his ADP is like 11th. Like, he is almost being drafted as a starting quarterback.
That is a little nuts.
And that's the only reason I have an issue with it. But I understand why you like him. But I hate feeding into that. But you haven't ranked him too high in my mind. No. Yeah. I think 14th, you're kind of like, okay,
he was like 21st before that move today. I don't know. It's just, and we haven't talked about him very much at all this year.
No.
So it's probably maybe a surprise because why? This is what somebody said in the comments earlier on Instagram when I made this post. They made the comment about basically why it's a mistake to get Kyler Murray. Why don't you just pick like Phillip Rivers who'll get you points? Which, sure. Okay, Phillip Rivers is always he's like that safe guy, but he's only been in the top 10 once in the last 5 years. So you know what? I don't know if I need Phillip Rivers. I'm going to take the chance on Kyler Murray, and if it doesn't work out, guess what? There'll be somebody else on the waiver wire. You're going to be fine, unless you're in a 2 QB league. But you will be just perfectly fine if you get Kyler Murray and he doesn't work. You're fine, unless you're in a league that really
if you can start 2 QBs, if you're in a 12, maybe if you're
like in a Scott Fishbowl type where the interceptions are though a lot more penalized, he might be a little bit more cautious. The interceptions might be there, but yeah, I like Kyler. I think he's gonna be a special player. So he made my players we love list. So how about your number 4?
Number 4. Everyone knows my affinity for this guy, but I really like Mike Williams. I liked him coming out of college, and the big question mark was, is he going to be able to get healthy, stay healthy, all that? And I thought last year he did a really nice job in a crowded offense who, they put up good points, obviously, establishing himself and kind of showing the tools that, were the whole reason why he was drafted so high. You can't really teach size, obviously. So being a 6'4", 220 wide receiver is special. No, I mean, he's going to be able to win jump balls. He's going to be able to do a lot of stuff. And I think he is very, very exciting. And to watch him really kind of come out at the end of last year when they had a few injuries, he had that 7 receptions for 76 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I think he had a game-winning catch as well, and that was kind of this step where I was like, okay, he's on the right track, because there was a little bit where I thought maybe this guy is a great athlete, but he just doesn't have that will to compete at the next level. So that kind of cleared it up for me. I thought that was wonderful, and Rivers needs that type of guy. You have Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, Gordon is going to get a ton of catches. You have Eckler. You have a lot of people there, but I think what I saw last year makes me very, very excited for his future, and I think that they will start grooming him to be that, maybe not number 1, with Keenan Allen there, but a different type of number 1, that deep threat, that red zone threat that Keenan Allen just really isn't. He's wonderful at getting, reception, getting a little bit open, and kind of moving the ball down the field. So I really like him and what he could do for that offense.
He didn't make my list, but he's definitely one that would have been there. You're very close to it. I really like Mike Williams a lot. Funny thing is, you started a list with 2 wide receivers. I have none on my list.
Really?
Yeah, not one. But Mike Williams would have been near the top of my list, actually, if it was going to be like a wide receiver. He's up there. Maybe because the guy's extremely talented. Mm-hmm. And he started his career hurt. So when he finally gets in the swing of things a little bit last year, hey, you get to see what the ability is. And guess what? He's heading into year 3. I don't know if the year 3 wide receiver thing is still a thing, but hey, might be.
Well, it seems to be, because right? We've hit on multiple, and I have to, like, the year 3, especially for a bigger, taller wide receiver, it seems to be holding pretty true. I feel like we should actually look that up and put a list together. But.
Yeah, it's people got spoiled, I think, by the Odell Beckham, that kind of thing, and a couple other guys that really, broke out right away. But it's not always that way. Antonio Brown didn't break out right away. If you look at some of the top receivers like today, DeAndre Hopkins, did he break out right away? He didn't. It was a few years. Devontae Adams, it took him a few years. Those 2 guys who right now are considered the top 2 wide receivers, it took them a couple years to break out. Antonio Brown, same thing. Then you have some other guys in there that didn't, but maybe Mike Williams could be that next one that just took a couple years and all of a sudden he's one of the top guys. It can definitely happen, but he's not on my list. He's close to it, but I'll go my number 4. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I talk about this guy all the time. It's David Njoku. I love David Njoku this year. He is now moved up to my number 5 tight end ranked. He's my 5th ranked tight end now. So he's only, he's 9th in consensus, but he's 10th in ADP, but he's my 5th. So a lot of people are almost overlooking him in a way because of, you got Odell Beckham. You have Jarvis Landry. You have all these guys to throw the ball to. How's Njoku going to get anything? I think that offense is going to be good enough where Njoku is going to be involved. I talked about it before. I think he's going to be a red zone guy. He's going to get some catches. And he is so young. And this is another one. It's going to take a couple years for him to become a really good player. But, what is he? He's like 23 years old still? Yeah, he's not even, his birthday is tomorrow, actually.
Oh, happy
he will
birthday.
turn 24 years old. But actually, as you're listening to this, it's his birthday because this will come out late tonight. We're recording this Tuesday night, so Wednesday. It's David Njoku's birthday. He's now he's 24 years old. That is it. 24. He's quite young yet. Why can't he be a great player yet? He's going to be. I really think he's going to be. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about him. I think he's going to be really good this year. So you don't have him. You probably have him a little bit further down than I do, maybe rank wise.
A little bit.
Like Hunter Henry, you'll have ahead of him. You'll probably have Evan Ingram ahead of him. But
yeah, I like him. I think his upside is really, really big. But for all the reasons you say, that's why he gets downgraded a little bit. But he's one of the guys that you're rooting for because he has all the talent in the world, and you're hoping that he can really put that together. And I do have another tight end on this list, and I think the arguments I'm going to make for him, I can make the same ones for Njoku.
Yep. Well, so even look like a player like George Kittle. George Kittle broke out last year. He was 24. He was 24 when he broke out. I know he was 25 all season. He'll turn 26 October. So he was 25 the majority of the year. See, it just takes like Zach Ertz. He didn't break out right away. Travis Kelce, he didn't break out right away. None of those guys did. It's tight end positions it takes longer than wide receiver. So Njoku's definitely going to be one. I don't know. We'll talk about one. Might talk about somebody else later. Another tight end. So that was my number 4. Let's go to your number 3.
Number 3. I want to talk about this guy because we really don't talk about the top guys too much. It gets a little bit boring and repetitive because you can't say, Zeke or Saquon or whoever is good. We know they're good.
Yeah.
But I do want to, I've loved this guy forever. Alvin Kamara. First of all, he's just wonderful. He's fun to watch. He's a great talent. And yeah, he is ranked currently the 4th best running back. But I do feel that, he's kind of in that first tier, but not really. People kind of talk about Zeke, Saquon, and McCaffrey. And then they talk about the rest. And I think Alvin Kamara is an interesting one. I don't know if they will change how they use him. He's very productive without getting the kind of touches other people do. So I don't necessarily think that maybe all of a sudden he's going to be, what we would consider a primary back and get 300 carries. I don't think that's how they're going to do it. But in my mind, I'm always like, what if they did? What would that look like? Last year, he almost got 200 carries, which is, good for him. 194 rushes, 883 yards, which comes out to be 4.6 yards a clip, 14 touchdowns. And then, that's mind-blowing right there. And then 81 receptions, 4 touchdowns from that. 700 yards receiving. He is just so dynamic that it doesn't matter what kind of game flow it is. He is going to be involved. He is going to get the ball. And the fact that they gave him so much love in the red zone last year, there's not anything I can say against the guy. If it wasn't for the fact that I know that Zeke is just going to, he's just going to be loaded up with touches, so is Saquon. And if it wasn't for McCaffrey breaking a running back record for receiving last year, this guy would, people would get a little more excited about the fact that Ingram is no longer backing him up. He does have another very, suitable back that can do some stuff, so I don't think they have to use him more. But what if they did?
It's funny because we have not talked about him very much. Mm-mm. He's just kind of just sitting there, 4th running back. I don't know why. he started last year, so he was great, and it kind of, I don't know if it tailed off a little bit, but yeah, we need to talk about him more. And I don't know if a lot of people just assume Latavius Murray's going to jump into the Mark Ingram role almost completely. I don't know, is he?
He's not as good as Mark Ingram. I mean,
some people think he is.
He's fine. He really is.
Yeah.
He's a very good backup running back, and they use a tandem back, and I'm sure they don't want to just run him into the ground because they don't have to. But I just love his production and how much he gets. I mean, even on that offense we think is so deadly, you have to think that Alvin Kamara is the number 1 running back and the number 2 wide receiver.
Yep.
It's pretty crazy to think about.
And he had 194 carries last year. He got up there. Man, that 81 catches 2 years in a row was crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah. All right. So he's your number 3.
My 3.
My number 3 is a running back as well. And this is actually one that most people, for some reason this year, think I'm crazy. And you know what? He showed up on my players we love list because of where I can get him. His name's Todd Gurley. Just have to talk about him one more time. He's not dead, is he? Like, I think people are acting like Todd Gurley's dead and his career is over. Like, he's basically Frank Gore at this point.
Right.
Like, I don't even know where to begin. Like, how is he even okay in the Scott Fish Bowl? He's like the running back 11. You almost got him in the 3rd round, Jeff.
That was one pick.
That one
really hurt my feelings.
You almost got Todd Gurley in the 3rd round. That's insane.
It is, and that's in a 12-man league, right?
Yeah. Well, that's insane. And this is what makes it where the injury, yes, he isn't 100. He's never going to be as healthy as he was anymore. There's going to be that lingering thing. It's going to get worse over time. It will. I mean, it's not going to go away. It's not something that goes away. It's just going to get a little worse. It's going to probably, but you know what? They know how to manage it. They're not going to run him into the ground anymore. But the best part about this whole thing is you don't have to pay for Todd Gurley anymore. You don't have to pay for the player he's been. You can get Todd Gurley at a discount. You can get Todd Gurley in the 2nd round now. And that right there, the risk is, okay, there's a little bit of risk maybe, I guess, but not really. You're getting Todd Gurley. You're getting the number 1 running back in the NFL for 2 years in the 2nd round. That's amazing. You're getting him in the 2nd round. So they're right there. The injury's already built into that. You're not drafting him like number 1 with the injury risk. You're drafting him at probably the beginning of the 2nd round with injury risk. You'll do that. Why not? It's Todd Gurley. The guy's... he's still going to be great. He's not going to get as many touches as he did before. But like somebody said, I was talking to somebody else and they're saying, if he got like 215 touches or something like that, yeah, he'd still be a top back. And I think he's going to get more than 215 touches because that would be carries plus catches and only like 2. He's going to be up there.
Yeah.
You're getting him. I mean, shoot. You could have drafted him in the 2nd round of the Fish Bowl if you had wanted to.
Yep.
And that's crazy. That's crazy. That's just.
And the only reason I didn't is because
you thought you could get him in the 3rd. You wanted to take the chance.
And also, they do give more points in receptions. So I would say I got Saquon first and then. But anyway, yeah. And, I feel the same exact way. I love the guy, number 1 running back, 2 years in a row. I mean, you get a little bit of bad news, and then everyone just completely is off of him. It has gotten out of control.
Yeah, because you're not. The risk is already gone because you're the earliest. Okay, I look at the Fish Bowl because there was 100 leagues, so you get a good feel for it. The earliest he went was pick 11. That's it. That's the absolute earliest he went.
He was never in the top 10. It's mind blowing.
That's unreal. But that's perfectly fine. The latest he went was. Pick 5 of the 3rd. That was the latest he went. Was pick 5 of the 3rd. So, yeah, that's you're getting Todd Gurley then.
I mean, and that is. I know you said it. But I love the fact that you can get him in the 2nd round. And what if he does get less carries? Who cares? Like you will get a top 10 back. That's what I'm telling you. As long as he doesn't have an injury that is not this one.
This is the thing is too. If you get Todd Gurley, the actual Todd Gurley, with just a few less touches, and you get him in the second round, you're probably going to win your league. Maybe not win. Okay, you're going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And you know what? If you miss on a second round guy, it's not over for you. Because there's waivers. Listen to us all year. We'll tell you who to get.
Yeah.
And how many times in our leagues have my top guy been lost? I had a stretch there where everybody in our auction, whoever I paid top dollar for, got like a knee injury that year. Jamal Charles, Adrian Peterson, happened to me a couple times. You know what? It didn't ruin my year. I still won.
Yeah. Yeah, lost for the year. You can make that up.
Yeah. And people always say, I always love there's always the saying is you can't win your draft in the first round, but you can lose your draft in the first round. You know what? Actually, I don't think you can. I don't think the first.
You can hurt yourself.
You can hurt yourself, sure, but it's not over. And you know what? The second round's even a little better.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think you can win. You can win your league in the second round if you get Todd Gurley this year.
100%.
And you know what? There's a lot of people that think I'm crazy for saying that, which is hey, whatever. It's Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley was going behind Dalvin Cook. He went behind Dalvin Cook in the Scott Fish Bowl. You don't have any injury concerns on Dalvin Cook? Where's those injury concerns? Yeah. I like Dalvin Cook, but
yeah, I do too. I think he's really talented, but his injuries are way more concerning than what Gurley is.
So, I mean, he went behind Odell Beckham. You don't have any injury concerns with Odell Beckham? Guy's hurt 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
I like Odell Beckham a lot, but he's hurt 2 years in a row. I mean, just come on.
And that's the funny part too. It doesn't stop anyone from drafting those players, and those players haven't ended the number one whatever the past 2 years.
Le'Veon Bell went 4 running backs ahead of Gurley. There's no concerns with Le'Veon Bell at all? Playing for a terrible team and hasn't played in a year? You have no concerns whatsoever. Really? None? Okay, just God, Gurley better be good. All right, you're number 2.
All right, number 2. This one is completely out of right field, but I don't get to talk about him usually, so I want to talk about him a little bit right now. And this is one of those guys that I'm going to keep an eye on for years to come because I truly think he is a special talent and he is in a good position. And, you know, we will officially find out. I mean, okay, it's Dallas Goedert. So tight end for Philly. Yes, he is behind Zach Ertz, who is tremendous. And yeah, I think Ertz is only 28. Like, he's still young. But last year they started running a ton of 2 tight end sets. And Goddard showed out. He did well. For a tight end, he did really well. He had 33 receptions, 334 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That is as a tight end 2 and a rookie. I mean, it's pretty crazy. And the stat I was going to talk about when Craig was talking about Njoku and how long it takes for a tight end to develop and why I think that Dallas Goedert is so special is because it just doesn't happen. I mean, and they, you know, you can talk about exceptions, but I believe Ingram was the best rookie tight end ever, and he had 60 receptions. Even, you know, Gronkowski is kind of a freak of nature, and I think he got up to 30 or something, 30 or 40. Very few people actually get a lot of receptions their rookie year. It just doesn't happen. Actually, yeah, here's a stat. Since 2008, only 12 rookie tight ends have had more than 40 receptions in a season.
Yeah, Gronk had 42.
42.
Yep. 42 for 546. Remember, everyone just thinks, well, Gronk was good right away. He had 10 touchdowns, but so with Goddard here. So, I mean, I don't get to break down the tape, you know, very much. Neither of us really have time for that. I wish I could look at it and watch a little bit more. But Chris Harris, who the podcast I enjoy, and he's actually one of them that actually breaks down the tape, and you know, he looks at these players a lot because, you know, he has the time to do it. He actually talked about Goddard last week and basically was saying this Goddard just kind of is extremely good player, very good player. We might just not get to see it right away because of Ertz. He's just not there, but he had a lot of high praise for Goddard, and that doesn't come that easy. And it's an opinion of somebody I trust. I trust his opinion. And if he says Goddard's a really, really good special player, I believe it. And I mean, it might not be this year, but it could be. If Ertz went down, that's just one of those that's, if Ertz went down, this guy's going to be really good. Why? He's going to be. He is good.
He would automatically turn into a top 7 for sure but he could easily be a top 5 guy.
Yeah. And maybe, though, they see this too, and they integrate him more. You know what I mean? Like,
I think the stat, give me a little bit of leeway here because I did look him up, but it was earlier today. But I believe he was on the field for like 34% of snaps as a rookie. And you're also the second tight end, right? So once again, keep that in mind. You're not the number one. You're not you're not Gesicki or you're, Andrews or someone like that who pretty much has carte blanche and actually underperformed what Dallas did. That is unbelievable in itself. But they in Philly, they just know how to use him.
I think they're going to use him more this year. I think they know what they have in him, and he's going to have to be used more. And they have a lot of pass catchers, but none that I feel like are just. Alshon is still Alshon. He's fine, but he's not special. He's really not. He never became, I feel like, a special player. He's just a good player. Deshaun Jackson's gonna catch a couple deep balls once in a while. Then who else? Nelson Aguilar. He didn't really pan out, I don't think. And then they drafted what's his name? Our Sega Whiteside or something. And people say he's not ready. Why don't they use Goddard? Yeah. And make it a Gronkowski Hernandez thing the Patriots did before. That was it could be that. If you have a guy that good, there's no reason to not use him just because there's another guy ahead of him that's slightly better. Use them both.
And I'll be honest, I'm in a deep draft like Scott Fishbowl. Like I'm actually looking for him very late as one of my last ones just to see, what if kind of thing. But also he's huge and he's incredibly athletic. He's 6'5", 260 pounds. Like this guy he can really be deadly in the red zone or anywhere. He is a super athlete, and the biggest knock against him coming out of college was the fact that he didn't, you weren't sure who he played against because he came out of a smaller school. Well, he answered that. He can play in the NFL.
Yeah, he's gonna be a good player in a couple of years. Maybe you'll see how quick it happens, but. He was actually just picked in the 11th round in a Scott Fishbowl league.
Really?
First time he was picked. 11th round.
11th round. Okay.
So you have a little bit. You have a little bit.
But that seems aggressive.
Yeah, you have a little bit. I like that one. That's a good pick.
Yeah.
My last two aren't as inspiring. A little more chalk here.
Yeah, my last one is
So my number 2, it shouldn't be that much of a surprise if you've listened. It's Aaron Jones. I'm a big Aaron Jones fan. He's moving up my draft boards. He's up to 12th on my current ranks. I've been a weird thing with Aaron Jones. I started him in my early ranks, like in, I don't know, whenever we did our first ranks in like January or February, and he was in the top 10. I backed off that a little bit, but he's moving his way back up. He's 12th. He's ahead of Nick Chubb for me. He's ahead of Leonard Fournette. He's ahead of Damian Williams now. I just feel if Green Bay gives this guy the opportunity, he's going to be great, and that's pretty much it. I'm not going to get into it too much right now because I've talked about Aaron Jones so much. I've done the same spiel so much. But everyone knows it. If he gets an opportunity and he gets the majority of the carries, the guy is going to be great. And he's just better than Jamal Williams. He's just better than the guys around him. He's going to be a really good player if he gets a chance. And I think he will finally get the chance this year. So Aaron Jones, my number 2.
Number 1, a guy that I love, and I do actually have on the Scott Fishbowl, and so does Craig.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Juju Smith-Schuster. I've loved this guy since he came, into the NFL, and there's many reasons I love him. One of them is the fact that I believe he was like one of the youngest players ever to come in the NFL. Like he is going to come into his 3rd year playing, and he is going to be 22 until November.
That he's something special.
It's insane. It is really insane. And on top of that, last year, 2 years ago, he really broke out of his shell. He did wonderful. But if you look at last year, when you have Antonio Brown also commanding all those targets. And now he obviously is without Antonio Brown, and he's going to be the number 1 guy. That is going to be the question mark now. Can he be the go-to guy? This guy was incredible. He really was, and he gets overshadowed because of all the hubbub around what went on with Pittsburgh. But he was 7th in receptions. He had 111 receptions for 1,426 yards, which let me see if I can actually, which ranks him 5th in yards, and then on top of that too. Targets, he ranked 4th with 166. And this is all why he still had the best wide receiver in the game across from him, who was also getting over, I'm trying to think where this guy was. But anyway, he was phenomenal. And he only had 7 touchdowns on top of that, where Antonio Brown had 15. It's hard to believe the fact that this kid could get better, but he might.
I don't think there's ever been I don't know this off the top of my head, but it feels like has probably never, or not many players that were that young, that good. I mean, he was 21 for the majority of that season. He didn't turn 22 till November 22nd. And yet he had 111 catches for 1,400 yards. That's something. That's a special player. And he was already as good as he was his rookie year, where we saw the potential, and he was only 20, and he just got better. I mean, and we got him I think we both got him in a good spot. We got him in the second round in our fishbowl.
I got him at the end of the second. That's the only reason I didn't get Gurley, is because
this is tough to pass on. And he could be. There's a guy that you're looking at he's currently, let's see, what is he ranked right now? He's usually around 7th or so, wide receiver wise. If there's a guy who could finish number 1 from down this, it's definitely Juju. He could finish number 1 next year. This year, no problem.
And look at it as well. Like, maybe he's not Antonio Brown. Maybe that's what we find out this year. That nothing wrong with that. Antonio Brown is a freak. He is amazing, amazing wide receiver. But Antonio Brown was easily the number 1 fantasy pick year in, year out, because he was so good and because he was on that Pittsburgh offense. And we are starting to see, maybe you don't agree with everything they do, but we're starting to see that they're the kingmaker. They really do make players fantasy relevant. We saw it with Le'Veon Bell, which is why I'm a little bit, I think he's a good player, don't get me wrong, but I'm a little bit concerned him going to the Jets. It's a very different, just situation that he's going to be in. And Antonio Brown, we're about to find out what he's going to be when he's in Oakland. I mean, you thought there was distractions before, but, Roethlisberger is a good quarterback. Their line is very good. Their coaching is very good. So, Juju has an opportunity to pole vault into that upper stratosphere when we're talking about, hey, Devontae Adams, Hopkins, and Juju.
He definitely can. And I think I wouldn't bet against it. I think he's going to be up there. So I'll go with my number 1 here. And this is, I didn't go down the board for this one at all. He's actually way up there. It's Christian McCaffrey. I love Christian McCaffrey this year.
Nothing wrong with that.
He right as of today. So he is now my number 2 running back, and I'm considering moving him to number 1. I think that strongly of him. I don't know if you agree, but I think that this guy, when's the last time you can think of Christian McCaffrey being hurt either? This guy's not hurt. He doesn't get injured. He's always out there. I mean, he's played all 16 games both times. He's never hurt. He's not injured.
I know.
He's not injured.
That's true. But he did put on a bunch of muscle in order to make sure. And he is pretty incredible athlete. But I do,
107 catches.
I know, it is incredible.
107.
I mean, it really is incredible. But he has only played 2 seasons so far, so I don't like to really give him the designation of Iron Man.
13 total touchdowns last year. He only had 219 carries, but he turned that into 1,098 yards for 5 yards per carry. He could get a few more carries. 107 catches. This is a running back. 107. Is he? I don't even know if he's a running back / wide receiver. That guy's so good.
Yeah, I don't think so. We might actually see the first running back ever to go 1,000 and 1,000.
I think he can do it. Yeah. I don't see why he can't.
No one's ever done that before, right? I don't think so.
I actually don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't see why he can't do it. I know David Johnson wants to be the guy who does that, but I'm gonna bet on Christian McCaffrey to do it, and he's up there for me. It's right now, which I guess I haven't revealed this on the podcast, but Saquon Barkley is now my number 3 running back. Yeah. So Christian McCaffrey and Zeke are battling out for number 1 right now, and Christian McCaffrey might take over Zeke.
And I still don't. I don't agree with that one. I would still put. I mean, you can make an argument. I wouldn't go too far out of my way to argue that necessarily, but I still like Saquon the best.
Which, hey, to each his own. I just think McCaffrey's going to be great, and I'm telling everyone thinks McCaffrey's great.
Right.
I just think he's just. I don't know. I think he's going to have a special season.
I just can't imagine a world where, maybe he does get more receptions, but it's hard to imagine that world. So are they really going to give him more rushes? And then if they do, he's more apt to get, hurt. I mean, he's still in the top 3, like no matter what. So it's not like I'm really dinging him, like downgrading him. I mean, he was just so many touches, 219 rushes, 107 receptions. I mean, man, give the poor guy a break.
He's really, really, really good.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's it. That's going to do it for players we love. Went a little bit, not too crazy on the list this year. At least I didn't. But
I mean, yeah, it was a kind of a fun one that we get to talk about people you don't usually touch on.
And now we'll try not to talk about these guys so much anymore. At least like Aaron Jones. I've talked about him too much. Todd Gurley. I think you guys are sick of Todd Gurley at this point. So we won't bring him up until we go to running back rankings. And then we'll talk about him because we'll have him higher than most. But that will do it for today. We'll talk to you guys on our next episode, which is going to be some players we actually haven't talked about very much, which there's a few of them. So we should definitely bring up some guys that for some reason or another, just, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know why we haven't talked about them. We just haven't. Maybe they're boring to us. Maybe they just slipped under the radar, but we'll bring up 5 guys each that we haven't talked about. Talk to you guys next time.